For my topic, I chose to talk about the Tulsa Race Riot, also known as the Tulsa Massacre. Within Tulsa, there was a district known as Greenwood, of primarily African Americans, and it was known for its successful businesses. It was so successful that it was often referred to as Black Wall Street. However, on May 30th, 1921, an angry white mob burned the district to the ground after rumors of an incident between the African American teenage boy Dick Rowland and the white teenage girl Sarah Page. I compared two articles from that time period in order to see the differing techniques in which the same event can be discussed. These two articles discuss the race riot of Tulsa with differing methods of rhetoric due to differing audiences and cultural constraints. To understand these articles, it's important we understand where they came from. Getting to know the writer and the audience of the articles allows you to know the perspective from which the article is coming from and the goal, or exigence. For Now Tulsa Does Care, this was written by Amy Comstock, who was a secretary for the Tulsa Tribune. This is from a white perspective, and the audience is the white community. Comparative to The Eruption of Tulsa, whose author is Walter White, an NAACP official, which means this is coming from the black perspective. The audience for his article would be the black community and America in general. In Now Tulsa Does Care, you see a lack of pathos. This is her weakest device that she uses within the article. On the other hand, The Eruption of Tulsa relies very heavily on pathos. The entirety of his article is driven by an appeal to emotions, and he pays very close attention to the word choice that he uses and the connotation behind it. Comstock's lack of pathos is most likely due to the fact that her audience was not the one who felt grievances towards the riot. They weren't the ones holding the emotional toll of what had occurred. However, White's heavy reliance on pathos is because he was a part of the community who had been facing these types of situations for years and years and years. You can see these examples of hurt and emotion in his word choice, specifically in examples where he says wild rampage, or killed in cold blood, or sheer brutality, or murderous anarchy. These are all examples whose connotations show the emotions that he was feeling and that he was trying to portray. Logos is Comstock's strongest device within her article. However, the reliability of the facts that she includes in her article does depend on several factors, considering the perspective and the time period. She uses this device to paint a specific picture of African Americans in Tulsa. In The Eruption of Tulsa, he includes an abundance of numerical and qualitative facts, and he also refers to specific people and references. Comstock uses logos to push her "it was bound to happen" mentality. She paints the African American community as a type of parasitic people who, left unchecked, would lead to the fall of Tulsa. White, on the other hand, approaches logos in a way to spread facts. He includes the worth of the city before the destruction, the worth of people within the city, and the worth of the property that was destroyed. He even includes a story of Roy Belton, who was a white taxicab driver who was demanded to be released from the courthouse, and he was lynched. He uses this as a way of providing a reasoning for why the black mob appeared at the courthouse after the white mob. Ethos in Now Tulsa Does Care is very weak. She refers to other cities who have experienced the same situation in order to build her reliability. In The Eruption of Tulsa, ethos is also his least prevalent use of the four devices. He mentions where he got his information from in a way to build his credibility. By mentioning several cities such as Washington, Chicago, and St. Louis that all experience the same thing as Tulsa, Comstock sends the message to the reader that if the same situation can occur in several cities, there must be some truth to her explanation. White's approach to credibility is explaining where he got his information from. Specifically, he states that most of his information came from the white mob that went into Greenwood that night. This strays away from there being any doubt of victim bias. The timing and relevancy for both articles are very similar. Both articles were written the summer after the event occurred. The timing reveals the focus of moving forward from the event. However, the differing perspectives shows the difference in the method of how each audience, the white community and the black community, planned to move forward. For Comstock, the relevancy of her article is based within deflecting the blame of the situation and explaining how the white community will move forward. She does this by explaining that the African American community will no longer go unchecked. For White, the relevancy of his article is explaining how the African American community will grow from this and how America in general can learn from this situation. Overall, you can see how the differing audiences and cultural constraints of that time period influence how each writer decides to approach their article and tell their perspective.